Hi everyone, my name is Anne. Thanks for joining me for another Break for 8 for Care Partners today. So let's level up our dementia care by continuing our conversation about the different levels or stages of dementia care. And I just wanted to pause for a second because we're going to pick up where we left off last time. Talking about the Global Deterioration Scale, or the GDS, but I wanted to just take a second to warn you that as we talk about the stages, we eventually get to end-stage dementia. And if you don't want to talk about or hear about end-stage dementia right now, you don't have to, right? So go ahead and just skip through to the meditation piece, all right? I just want to forewarn you about that. All right, but I do this not with the intention of wanting to make you sad or to frighten you, but to prepare you, okay? Because I think that's important. So if you didn't see the video from last time, it might help to actually go back and look at that first before you tune in today. But it's also totally fine if you want to stay here with us this morning. Let's just give you a quick synopsis in case you didn't hear it yesterday. So the GDS is from the research of and the work of a man named Dr. Barry Reisberg, and he is an Alzheimer's disease specialist. And in it, his work describes the typical progression of Alzheimer's disease, which I really think can help give care partners some idea of what they can expect as time goes on. Because if you're not familiar with dementia, if this is all new to you, it's nice to have a little bit of a roadmap. But as I explained last time, this scale, the GDS, is based on Alzheimer's disease. Although I see it all the time being applied to other forms of dementia, I just want to caution you that if your person has a different form of dementia other than Alzheimer's, they may not follow the exact path. Just be aware of that. And then I also just asked people not to fixate so much when I show you the stages, not to fixate so much on trying to figure out, what level of dementia that describes your person best. Because again, it might not be totally accurate. We know for a fact that there are many people who have mixed dementia. It's more common than we originally thought. And that's another reason why people might not follow the exact progression of the GDS. But I still really like the GDS because I feel knowledge is power. And having a little bit of knowledge, even though it's not a complete picture about what is in store, because everybody is different, that knowledge and awareness can reduce a little stress. And there is no one more deserving of a little stress reduction than dementia care partners, right? So I'm going to put the scale up on the screen right now. And I hope you can see it. You may have to zoom in a little bit, but I'm also going to place a link to the document within the comment section so you can always go back and reference it later. So let's simply describe the Global Deterioration Scale in general. So the GDS breaks down Alzheimer's disease, like you can see here, into a sequence of 7 different stages that outline the typical progression of Alzheimer's. So we have, starting with stage 1 and 2, these are stages we would associate with normal cognitive function in a normal adult. So the slight difference being that in stage 2, a person may begin to notice, some forgetfulness, like, where did I put my keys? Or I lost my phone. It's somewhere in the house. We all do this from time to time, and rest assured, this is normal, okay? So as we move into stage 3, hopefully you can see this. Stage 3 is labeled mild cognitive decline, or sometimes we see this also described as mild cognitive impairment, or MCI. So in stage 3, people may begin to have difficulty that would actually start to show up on a clinical test, like if they have to remember 3 words or remembering a list of names or retaining information that they've read. We're also going to start seeing them make some mistakes when they are engaged in more demanding settings, like if they're working at a job, or maybe they're driving to a new place they've never been, or trying to navigate an airport that they're not familiar with. And oftentimes people are aware themselves that there's some change. Sometimes there can be a lack of awareness, but when there is awareness, we'll see people do quite well compensating for any deficits. They're aware of what situations may pose a problem, and they can employ like a memory strategy, like writing things down or using other reminders. But also keep in mind that because there's some awareness there also could be a lot of anxiety that they are either expressing or they're keeping to themselves, because the realization that we are losing cognitive function can be extremely scary to somebody. So let's move on now to stage 4, and that's often where we're going to see someone receive an actual diagnosis of dementia, where cognitive decline becomes much more obvious. They're having more clear-cut difficulties with complex tasks like driving a car, paying their bills, scheduling appointments, those activities, those IADLs that we talked about last time. But they still have a lot of ability for other things that are routine, familiar. Their basic ADLs are intact. They know where they are. They know who they are. They may lose track of a little bit of information or make a little mistake when they're telling you a story. And then their recall, like an accurate recall of recent events is going to be a little bit more impaired when we're at this level. So stage 5 and 6 are going to indicate continued cognitive decline. Stage 5 is sometimes referred to as moderate dementia, and then stage 6 as moderate to severe dementia. So we can see cognition worsen in stage 5, and the person might no longer be able to, say, recite their address or remember the name of their high school. Or they may get the names of their grandchildren or their nieces and nephews a little bit mixed up. Sometimes we can see uncertainty about the season of the year. So maybe they will dress inappropriately, like wear a heavy jacket outside in the summertime. And then as we move further into stage 6, sometimes we're going to see people forgetting more and more, like the names of familiar things, like the name of their spouse, or someone they see every day. They may become unaware of time, like knowing what time of day it is or what's going on for the day, or what even happened earlier in the day. Their memory, they may forget that. So in stage 6, they need quite a bit of assistance, as you can see with the basic ADLs now. Things like getting dressed, reminders to use the bathroom, and to bathe regularly. And then also, as stage 6 progresses, assistance is really needed to complete these tasks thoroughly, like remember to wipe themselves, or to do a thorough job of bathing, like wash their hair. And then finally, stage 7, this is the final stage on the GDS. And in this stage, people begin to, sadly, just lose speaking ability. Although I will say, in many forms of dementia, we can see speech decline and be impacted much earlier on than it's indicated here in the GDS. But at stage 7, speaking ability is pretty much lost. Although that's not to say people can't interact. Also in stage 7, a lot of physical abilities are lost, like loss of their bowel and bladder control, difficulty swallowing. They're becoming either wheelchair or bedbound at this time. And of course, at this time, they're going to need help with all ADLs. even including eating if they're still able to swallow safely. And as I go through this, I'm just struck again by how incredibly sad and devastating dementia is. And I am, again, providing this information not to make you sad, but to hopefully help you be more aware and to help you be more prepared. Because sometimes we just don't know what to expect, right? If we've never gone through this before. And one of the ways we can be prepared especially is just by realizing that dementia is not a one-person job, right? And we are going to need help and support, especially as our person becomes more and more dependent on others for assistance with really all their needs as we get to those later stages. But I'm also going to say I'm always struck by the number of remaining abilities people have, even in those end stages of dementia, to connect with us, to respond to us, to recognize a familiar space, to smile. So, let's just pause here. Let's just take a deep breath to clear the air a little bit, to decompress, because this is really, really heavy stuff today. And if you need to just pause the video before we move on, please do so, okay? But otherwise, now that we've talked about the levels, it's time for us to level up. And we do so ironically today by just settling down. So let's just take a few cleansing breaths, clearing the air. Close your eyes as you begin to sink a little bit deeper into the surface that's supporting you right now. Just become a little more aware of the support of the surface and allow it to hold you, to hold your back and your core muscles, allowing you to relax. Drop your shoulders away from your ears a little bit, just helping the muscles supporting your head, your neck, your shoulder blades begin to lighten their load. Unclench your jaw if it's tight. Relax the muscles of your forehead. Just to experience your eyebrows begin to loosen. Just continue to settle down lower and lower into a level of complete relaxation. You're trying to relax, if you become aware of any circulating thoughts, just allow them to soften, relax, and dissipate as you begin to refocus your attention on a tiny space or a dot in the center of your brain. Imagine this dot space being a deep, deep, dark space that is totally void of all activity. And let's just sit here for a few moments, just enjoying that absolute stillness of your mind and of your body right now. of this space that you've created for yourself in this moment. Experiencing a little bit more peace, the challenge, of course, is transferring this to life. It's possible to interact with others and to respond to the environments when we're calm and stable like this, but it takes a lot of practice because life is challenging. Emotions are really good at overwhelming us and taking charge. So today I just invite you to become aware when those feelings of irritation or frustration or even anger begin to bubble. And there's no doubt that dementia gives us a massive dose of opportunities to experience and practice this. And sometimes just that awareness alone is enough to stop us in our tracks so we can take a breath, to regroup, to stabilize. And other times we may need more physical space and time before we engage. Let's not be hard on ourselves when there are those times that we react in a way that we're not happy with later. Rest assured, there are lots of opportunities for practicing and working on creating a more peaceful presence within ourselves. The fact that you are simply here right now doing this work means you're making a contribution, not only to a peaceful self, but a more peaceful home, and quite honestly, a more peaceful planet. So please linger here a little longer in silence if you can. And I'll see you next time. You've got this.